remarkable 25 years. But presumably you were at the start of that as well with Richard, right?
Well, it was Richard's sort of last act, if you like, was to set up the foundation. Building on, I think it was called the Friends of Radley College before that. There were organisations raising money, but it wasn't professionalised. It was then professionalised. And then in the early years, obviously, we were finding our way somewhere along the line, and there was one or two difficulties finding the right people. And it took probably the best part of 10 years to get the structure right.
I think probably the two key figures weren't, I mean, you know much more about it than I do, but the two key figures were that sort of original vision of Richard to see the need for it, and see the need for it perhaps earlier than most schools might have done.
Yes.
And then when we were still trying to find our way about how to do it really well, Anthony sort of stepped in to...
Well, Anthony was on council, and one or two development directors came and went, so we thought, if you can't beat them, join them. So, and so he did an awful lot to get things on the right track. But your arrival, John, has definitely accelerated the whole. You realised very early on the importance of the foundation, whereas I think others might not have thought that was a priority. But you had the ambition.
Well, I think it's. I think that was collective. I think there was a sort of sense of we want to see boys of talent come to the college. That sort of Sewellian dream of slightly romantically idealistic dream, I think, of 1 in 10 being here for free. And I think probably it's those two things mixed. So Richard's recognition that the college would need to provide funds to support parents of the squeeze middle that wouldn't otherwise be able to afford a boarding fee. And then the Sewellian vision of giving a place for free to people from different socioeconomic backgrounds. I think those two things together are probably what we've put at the forefront of strategy in the last 10 years, and that's probably been the clue to the success that we've had. You will know that the sort of aim was to get to a certain percentage of boys here on funded places, but that to sort of not just be about giving them places, but actually changing the nature and the feel of the college in terms of sort of things we care about and want to do. And so one of the senior four perhaps for next year is somebody that actually we helped a little bit at prep school level. We helped just a little bit, and we find schools that will give them a place. So somebody went to Summerfields for 2 years in year 7 and 8. Has had a fantastic time here and is now sort of one of the senior four pups for next year. And the lovely thing, I think probably 10 years ago that might have felt a little bit unusual, but now I think those boys are so integrated into the life of the college. They're proud to call themselves funded place boys. It's not an issue at all, because I think everybody recognises that's part of the DNA now, which is what Sewell always wanted. I mean, it just continues to be it's such an important part of what we do. And actually, you write a letter to somebody kind enough to make a donation of whatever amount, and it's genuinely a source of pride because they're giving money to an organisation that they believe in, and almost, not all, but almost all that money is very specifically devoted to funded places, which is obviously something dear to my heart. But
you're involved with so many more schools than when I was here, so there's so many more people having that relationship with Radley, and that may well be a source of also presumably some boys who would benefit from the bursaries.
But we've got relationships with a school in Birmingham. The boys just finished the 6-2s, been here for 2 years. Through our relationship with them, I think we've got our first boy joining in September from our relationship with a school in Blackbird Leeds, the primary school coming through from there. So yeah, absolutely, the partnership's been really part of that, finding boys that Radley's right for. I think genuinely, when I talk, we have a lot of Shell parents at lunch, over the course of the year, and I always talk about this, and particularly in the context of VAT, say, look, you need to understand that we're still really committed in our strategy to our partnership work, really committed to the work of the foundation and to raising money for funded places, because this is just part of what we are now. And your sons, even if they're not on funded places, as you say, benefit as a result. Genuinely what I always say to any old Radley, and actually but it would apply to ex-members of council as well, is I hope that when they visit, whatever changes have happened or are happening, that two things will be true. That there'll be a sense of dynamism, energy and newness, and that new building or that new project or that new idea, but actually also that the essence is the same. And that's particularly important, I guess, at the moment, partly because of the schools group that we're setting up, partly because of the challenges we face economically
Yeah.
and politically. It's really important to have those foundations right. And as I said earlier, I think the idea of keeping funded places and partnerships at the heart of what we're about is about remaining true to our DNA, even while we're thinking. I mean, the foundation just becomes more and more important. We had hoped, I think we set it, 2015-16 we set our target of 20% of income being in the form of fee remission. I sort of hope we could deliver that by about 2030. And sadly that's going to be delayed now probably because of the challenges of the VAT, but we're keeping momentum going forwards even if it has to be a little bit slower. And the work of the foundation in getting us to that point is absolutely key because we're still ambitious to reach that target.
I think Richard Morgan was looking at 250 million.
Yeah, Richard was always a margin. I'm more realistic than Richard, but we think that's probably what we need now.
Yes,
so I think
we
probably said 130 million. I think was our figure, and obviously inflation affects that, but also fee inflation affects that as well. So in order to provide what we need, we probably do need an endowment. But the endowment was 15 million.
Exactly.
In 2014.
I'm sure the first 100 million is the easiest 100 million.
Oh, really? I was hoping the second 100 would be the easiest because we've done the first 100. So let's see whether we can get the second 100. But it's been such an exciting 10 years from that point of view, and the privilege.
Did I say easiest? I meant most difficult.
I thought you were now. I thought you were putting it slightly difficult. We'll establish the first 100 is the most difficult. After that, it'll be easy.
Yes. Easier.
But it's been an exciting 10 years. To be able to achieve what we have achieved, and I'll always say thank you to you for giving me the chance to do that. But even as I stand here having achieved a lot, I hope collectively together in 10 years there's always an awful lot to do, and you sort of think you're going to get to there and then you need to get to the next stage, so more to do.